It's interesting here as we welcome in our first guest. I think of, the idea here in a pandemic of changing. A lot of people are changing jobs. But do we have a real different dynamic out there at all when it comes to, let's say, a household with a family? Is it still based on two jobs, dual career? When I was a kid, that wasn't as much of a thing. My mom didn't work very much outside of the home. She worked a ton inside and around the family. But as far as another career, that primarily was my dad's thing. That's just changed in America. And I don't think it's much different now, even in the pandemic. How to do it successfully and how not to let the pitfalls bring you down. Well, for that, we're going to bring in the good doctor, Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing, drjohnb.com for the podcast. Anytime, anywhere, any place. And he's here. Good morning. Welcome.
Well, good morning. Good morning to you, Dave, and welcome. I'll say welcome, as I appreciate being back with you like always. We do live in a society where more and more couples are both working and have specific work, couple, family, and work expectations that must be synced together in order for the marriage to be successful. And if we look around us, we can see the large number of divorces show many couples are not able to navigate this difficult terrain to be successful. Now, I can mention some suggestions on what would be helpful for dual career couples. Okay, I guess first, best to determine prior to marriage how they plan to coordinate activities pertaining to the marriage, child rearing, financial goals, personal goals, and the breakdown of specific responsibilities each is going to have. Now, this is going to change over the course of the marriage based on what's occurring in their lives. I think another would be supporting and enhancing each other as they together meet chosen goals that are mutually agreed upon. Then a willingness to forgo personal goals when the needs of the overall relationship require this to be done. Then ongoing and sometimes changing roles by one of the persons to be the primary caretaker of the children and or other responsibilities, due to particular educational or career opportunities. And I think recognition that in spite of the financial and career success that can come from dual career couples, disappointment and frustration can occur when one or both are stymied from individual goals and the overall responsibilities of the relationship where they have to be primary. Then the ability to make changes as needed that may require job changing or job adaptation. Then recognizing a desired job opportunity or different job would cause more harm than good for the couple and not entered into in spite of the frustration comes with that. Then take a final thought. Enduring love in any relationship requires openness, compromise, organization, agreed upon role expectations, willingness and ability to change, mutual respect, and strong support for each other. And that's quite a list and shows a lot of the dangers and concerns when you have dual, I won't say dueling, but you have dual responsibilities, career type persons, and that's happening more and more in our society, well into the 60% range.
I'll say dueling here, though, somewhat. I will, you won't, but I will. What happens when one spouse starts to feel like their career of the dual career is the more important one? They're making more money. They are garnering more either fame or recognition. That's a dangerous time, isn't it?
Bingo. Yes, it is. It leads to a lot of conflict, and this is what leads to many, many divorces, because a lot of these things can relate not only to career ladder, but also geographical change and the type of responsibilities that can change. Like if, let's say you have two teachers that are done at 3, 4 o'clock. Obviously, there's night work, and I realize all that. And they're all also summers off, but all of a sudden one wants to become a manager, one wants to deal with some executive roles. But these jobs can take all your time. Okay, so that can impact on the family, because instead of two people sharing time, child rearing, picking up children, doing things, one person just changing the workload, the responsibility, maybe even driving an hour each way to work. These types of things can radically change relationships, sour them, and can even end them. So it's really critical that there be a built-in communication, that they work together and realize there can be some frustration, because many people turn down opportunities that they would consider opportunities they wanted for the sake of the family, for domestic tranquility, if you will. So dual career, it is difficult, particularly if one or both of the partners are looking to expand their responsibilities in life, because it can end up taking a toll, particularly when there are children involved and you're trying to do all the activities. And kids these days are so involved in different things. I mean, you may almost need a couple grandparents or close friends to help driving them around to different activities. So it can be a very complicated world with the dual career person, and it can turn into a dueling situation.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, I've had twice with my wife and I during our marriage where there's been an opportunity come up that we really had to discuss, and 2 times in this household we've said no, because going through it's funny because I'm not checking off all the boxes on your list, but I'm checking off a bunch of them that we went through, okay, and came to the conclusion that it wasn't right for us as a family. If it had been Dave solo or Mary solo, that might have been a very different story. But it wasn't. And you have to admit that it isn't anymore. And that's that greater, I don't want to say group think, but the family think that's going on. And if it's not going on, I would foresee problems are on the shoals there close to shore that you're wading into or floating into. Be very, very careful. Because people do say no to opportunities, but they do so after contemplation, reflection, and et cetera. And I think this goes on a lot with the kind of dual career dynamic that you're discussing today, Doc.
Absolutely true and right on, Dave, because a lot of people don't realize they may make a choice that they think is good for them, and they may even in their own mind think it's good for the family, but it ends up with chaos. It ends up in anger, frustration, divorce, bitterness. So it's really critical that people really work these things out. And if you do have a dual career, it is important to really try to sort out exactly what does that mean. Where are you going to go? What are you aiming for? Because a lot of times people will just even look at it, I can make $10,000 more. That will be good for the family. Well, might be good for the family, but also can lead to less time together for the couple, can lead to less time with the children, could lead to just a lot of different changes and responsibilities. Now, there are times that someone will take a lesser role for a period. I'm aware of a few of these that are working right now where someone has just a significantly better job or an opportunity for a far better job where there's an agreement for one to curtail activities for a period of time so they can do a lot of the go-to type things, taking kids here, going doctor's offices, handling activities. So everything relates to compromise and agreement. But when you get 2 people going in completely different directions, and then they certainly lose each other. Because remember, if you can't agree on career choices and time allotment and allocation and power within the home, whatever words you want to use for it, then that's why we have a 50% divorce rate, and a lot of it does relate to where people can't agree to things like this. And I think it's important. You mentioned 2 changes in your family. I think everybody has those type of things, Dave, happen to them in their lives. Then you have to weigh that there can be some disappointment, but you have to really be enjoying what's gained from not doing it rather than focusing on the disappointment, because the disappointment then can lead to a breakdown in communication.
I agree.
100%. So it's critical to agree to changes.
Yeah, 100%. You're spot on with that. And we did. And I don't think it was an unusual. I only bring it up because I think it's far more common than it is unusual. And it's good to work through those. And as you say, it's imperative that you do work through those, and you do so prior without saying, guess what? Hey, guess where we're going? Guess what we're doing? Pack up. No, that's not the way to roll with this, especially now when you have a family and a significant other who works as well, has a career, kids are involved, yeah, there's got to be. I'm not saying that it's going to be a group decision where everybody puts in a card, you flip it over, yes, no, but there's got to be a lot. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be a lot of discussion that goes into it, contemplation, do the right thing, say the right thing, and actual listening to your partner. What does this sound like to you? What do you think of this? Exactly right.
Well, I think you're right, David. And I think let's hypothetical. Let's say you'd move back to Seattle when the kids were in school, everything was going on in Mary. I mean, that would have been very, very difficult. Not that you were going to do that, but those are the type of changes that would be pretty radical for a family. That you may be from that area, but when you've been here, the kids are here, you're developing a career,
right.
Like developing the fifth quarter. I mean, doing things.
None of my kids was born on the West Coast. They're all here. They're Michiganders. So
this is what
many
I
things
mean.
to consider. Exactly.
They're real, and you can make decisions later in life too. But on the other hand, people make decisions. They want to leave then when the kids are out of the house, but then later on they want to be near where the kids are. So it is important to have foresight and to be, I guess, willing to forego some things for the greater good of maintaining, we'll call it domestic tranquility, and just having just solid communication, love, and things going on that we really want in relationships that do require compromise on all fronts, including the work front.
Right. And the doc makes a good point again today. Successful dual career couples, and yet we still live in a society with a 50% divorce rate. Obviously, it isn't all about I'm making a bunch of money, you're making a bunch of money, it's all good. Not necessarily so. So you have to keep that in mind. Really good points today with our good friend Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing, and the podcast very shortly will be there with all the other issues and topics at drjohnb.com. Good advice today. Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Always a pleasure. And listen, we've got a week off before the big game.
Yeah, I know. Next week we'll have to leave some time to do a little prognostication on that one. I have a feeling I know which team you're going to pick, but it doesn't mean it won't be a lot of fun to talk about anyway. Take care. Stay safe, all right?
Okay, Dave. Bye-bye.
All right. We're coming back on the morning wake-up. We'll go to D.C. Jared Halpern stepping in next on Capitol Hill, 1320 WILS.